Ready when Ulysses. There it is.
Hello BookTube, I'm Sean the Book Maniac. Welcome back to my channel. I am so excited to do this video, I can hardly sit still. It's a beautiful late August morning, 7 a.m., I'm not sure, 6:45. No wind, no humidity or very low humidity comparatively, so it's very comfortable to be out here. And this is, as I'm recovering from severe jet lag, this hour of the day is my prime video making and reading time, so this is as good as it's gonna get, girls and boys. I am delighted to be bringing you my TBR for the Women in Translation Readathon, which has been organized by the lovely booktubers Matthew Sharappa, Kendra Winchester, and Jennifer of Insert Literary Pun Here, who will be sadly missed if she's actually more or less, hopefully less, disappearing on us for the time being. What a delightful readathon. As many of you know, I recently became a fierce militant convert to readathons after doing the Booktubeathon a few weeks back, and I got so excited about Matthew Sharappa's announcement of the Women in Translation Readathon, which he very devilishly launched on the first day of Booktubeathon, that I spent half of my first day on Booktubeathon prepping my TBR for this one. And I've been just geeking out about it ever since. So this might be a long TBR and also completely unrealistic. I'm going to, not only am I going to try to read 7 books in 7 days and fulfill all of the challenges that they have set out, but last night I decided, when I stumbled upon yet one more book in my as yet unpacked boxes of books that is a work of translated women's fiction, that I decided I'm going rogue. I'm going to do this over 10 days to try to fit even more books in. And I told Matthew Sharappa to put that in his pipe and smoke it, and he sent me an immediate reply on Twitter: read all the books. So I shall. So I think I'm going to start with the extra books that I've got planned first, and I want your help. This is a very serious issue, and I need your urgent input. What should I call the 3 extra days that I'm reading? I'm going to put them at the beginning. So if I was doing the regular, non-roguish readathon, it would be days 1 through 7. So there's extra 3 days. I'm thinking the first day. So you guys are all starting Friday, the 25th. I'm going to start Wednesday, the 22nd of August. So for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, should I call those days day -1, day -3, day -2, day -1? If not, Rogue Day 1. I'm not really wanting to use the rogue word too much for a women's readathon, so any advice? This is really important, people. If I don't get any advice, or if I don't like any of your pieces of advice, I think I'll just go with day -3, day -2, day -1. All right, moving on. So here is the novel that I found in a box. I remembered I had it, but once I perused it again late last night, I thought to myself, I want to include this one too, and I don't want to give anything up to do it. I don't want to bump any of the ones I got. So here it is. This is an Urdu novel. In fact, it is the Urdu novel, the classic 20th century Urdu novel, The One Who Did Not Ask, by Altaf Fatima. Published in the Urdu, I believe it was published in 1965 in Urdu. I couldn't find a clear reference for that, but I found one that was more or less reliable. Translated by Rukhsana Ahmed, 1993. And this is the Heinemann Asian Writers Series editions. I picked this up at a used bookstore in, wow, there's still 1 or 2 last semi left to die. You're gonna hear them dying on camera. And I really wasn't counting on that, because this is the first one I've heard since I came back. It's only one, so please bear with me. I have no mic, won't go into that sordid episode, and so I'm hoping it's not obnoxious. And I just flipped through it, read a couple sentences here and there, and thought, I want to do this. I've already got one for for the prompt number 4, read a text translated from a language you haven't read a text translated from before, which is a mouthful but perfectly worded. I love saying it. I'm going to say it at least 5 more times in this video. I've already got one that I'm so excited about. So I'm going to add 3 more days, because a lot of the books I've got for the 7 prompts are not necessarily short. And this one isn't either. It's about 350 pages. So I'm going to give myself an extra 3 days to add this and make sure I finish 8 books. Really excited about this one. But I've got others. If I happen to bail on this, or if I happen to, for whatever reason, have more space that don't necessarily fit any of the prompts. This one sounds incredible too. Angel of Oblivion by Maja Haderlap. Translated from the German by Tess Lewis. This sounds incredible. And Britta, please feel free to add a comment, correcting or adding to what I'm going to say here, because I don't have much. But Maja Haderlap, born in 1961, is a Slovenian, German, Austrian writer. And this is what her best known novel. And this novel is a historical novel highlighting Austria's, and I'm quoting from the Goodreads, because that's all I've been able to do so far for research, highlighting Austria's only militarily organized resistance against Nazism, the Carinthian minority of Carinthian Slovenes, as one of the non-Jewish Holocaust's victims. Wow! I don't know anything about that particular group, the Carinthian minority of the Carinthian Slovenes, and I am fascinated. So I doubt I can fit this in unless I have a bailing massacre. But this is an ARC that a lovely Litzy friend sent me in the mail a couple years ago, and it kind of collecting dust. And I looked at it more closely last night, and it's like, this sounds amazing. So it probably won't be in this. Maybe one of you might add it to yours. If any of you have read it, give me your thoughts. And this is way down at the back of my TBR. Okay, we're looking at 9 minutes and I haven't got to the official TBR yet, so let's speed it up a bit. I ordered this off Amazon Canada to my parents' house, so I just got this a week or so ago. This is a Quebecois Canadian novel, Anne Hébert Kamouraska. It's supposed to be really good, but this was a total cover buy. Look at that cover! I don't know much about it. It was translated by Norman Shapiro, originally published in French in 1970. And it's set in a rural Quebec town about a 19th century love triangle. That's all I know. But I love these editions from Anansi, a Canadian publisher. It's called the A-List, and they're reprinting classics of Canadian literature in these attractive soft covers. So again, I doubt I'll get to it this readathon, but you never know. This is the short one, The Story of My Teeth by Valeria Luiselli. I hauled it a few months back, haven't read it. It's under 200 pages, translated from the Spanish. She's a Mexican novelist by Cristina McSweeney. And this is a booktube darling. And so because of that, it's not high on my list. I would like to do books that nobody else is reading, because I'm special, because I want to be special. But I do want to read this someday, but it's a low priority for this booktubeathon, other than if I'm starting to, realize that I've bitten off more than I chew and I need to swap something out for a shorter book. This would be a contender. Oh, I hope those cicadas aren't really obnoxious. I don't have the energy to redo this video. So those are the contenders for the 8th book that I'd like to do, and I will be doing most of the Alta Fatima Urdu novel on days -3, -2, and -1, and also start one shorter book at that time. I will be finishing up the Neurospark Memento Mori with Memento Mori buddy read over those 3 days as well. So I won't be doing too much, but I would like to get a head start. Okay, so now let me go back to the official Women in Translation Readathon prompts, which I love. So the first one is prompt number 1, read something that is not a novel. And I have chosen this book, which has shown up in various of my tags, and I hauled it early in my booktube days. And this is a non-fiction, it's a memoir by Xin Ran, The Good Women of China, Hidden Voices. And it's a memoir of her hosting a radio program in China, and I can't catch from the back when it was, but it was in the bad old days. Like it might have been in the 80s or the 90s. And it was a phone-in talk show for and about Chinese women, and this is her memoir. It sounds incredible. So that is my first pick, and barring something weird happening, this will be what I read. It's 230 pages, so I can't wait to finally get to it. However, I did just pick something up in Canada that I could swap out if need be. And that is this memoir, The Unceasing Storm, Memories of the Chinese Cultural Revolution by Catherine Luo. And this must take the record for a non-academic, non-medical list, the longest list of translators. Translated from the Chinese by, are you sitting down? Zhou Mo, Lucy Y.S. Mo, Yvonne So, Peony Ling, Dr. Richard and Joan Colclough, Lucy Hu, Mei Jinghai, and Su Chong. Forward by Madeleine Tien, one of my favorite writers, the author of my favorite novel, Do Not Say We Have Nothing. And this woman was not her relative, but her father's, Madeleine Tien's father's first love. So she has written the foreword to it. And that's all I know. I was in the bookstore in Saskatoon with my dear friend Lindy of Litzy, and she brought it to my attention, and I went back the next day and got it. So this would also fit for this prompt. I'm geeking out. Calm down, Sean. Calm down. Number 2, read a book about childhood, and I'm so stoked. I don't have the physical books yet. They're on their way from the UK, maybe. I ordered them very impulsively about a month ago, 3 weeks ago. They should be arriving in time for this readathon, I hope. I'm going to read the first of a trilogy by a Norwegian woman writer. The writer's name is Cora Sandell, and it's the Alberta trilogy. Book number 1 is called Alberta and Jacob, published in 1926 in Norwegian, translated by Elizabeth Rokan. I don't know when it was translated. I think 1962. I bought the whole trilogy. I'd heard about it on Twitter or Litzy about a year ago, and I'd kept it on my TBR, and my mind cast back when I was drumming up books for this. So book number 1 is about Alberta's childhood. It's a coming-of-age story. She lives in a small town in northern Norway. The town is not named, but it is in fact Tromsø, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. She lives in the countryside. It's not very interesting. It's not a very interesting life, or at least she doesn't think so, and it's her coming of age. So I'm really stoked. Bruno, if you see this before I get a chance to Voxer you, please jump on this and buddy read it with me. But I'll be reading it over a week or so, or anybody else for that matter. I won't have much time to do buddy reading just because I'm just going to be reading, but I know that Bruno's very into Norwegian lit. As a backup, this has been kicking around various tag videos I've done. The Children by Carolina Sanin. It is from Colombia, translated, it's a new translation a year or two ago by Nick Caster. And it's about a woman who is offered a child outside a supermarket by a beggar. And she takes him, a 6-year-old boy, and it's about their relationship. But I'm much more excited about the Cora Sandell book, but this would be a backup. Well, I'm very sad to say that the cicada noise just got louder and louder, and I've previewed what I shot, and I'm mostly due to my extreme jet lag. I'm just devastated that I can't use it because I was really animated, and now another hour or 90 minutes have gone by, and I'm more jet lagged, more tired, and ate breakfast, so I'm sleepy. but I'm gonna do my best to summon up all of my wit, women in translation, energy, to redo the last half of this. Come on, Sean, get it, get your wits about you. Get your wits about you. Number 3, read a book with red on the cover. I have one. Fear and Trembling by Amélie Nothomb, translated from the French by Adriana Hunter. This is a novel about a young French woman who comes to Japan and interns or starts working for a Japanese company and all of the misadventures that ensue. It doesn't really sound like a Sean book, but it certainly appeals to me because it's about 125 pages for this readathon, and so I probably won't bail. And it was made into a movie. That's all I know. I have backups. I haven't mentioned yet that I'm trying to find backups for all of the prompts because I am the Empress of Bailing. If you saw how I made out with Booktubeathon, you know what I'm talking about. One of the backups I have is available to me as an audiobook on Scribd, and that is the Japanese novel The Great Passage by Shion Miura, translated by Julia Winters Carpenter. It's a 7.5-hour audiobook, and actually the ebook is free to me on Kindle Unlimited. But I'm not sure it's a Sean book. I scanned the synopsis. It's about a Japanese man who's compiling a 3,000-page tome of the Japanese language, and it has some magical, bookishly fantastical elements, and I don't usually do well with novels about books, but who knows? Try it. But it has a nice red on the cover. Here it is. Prompt number 4, my favorite one, and here I go again. Read a text translated from a language that you haven't read a text translated from before. This was the most fun for me. I mean, I did such a deep dive researching this online, and it's not easy to research, but I had a blast. I probably spent 2 or 3 hours. And the top contender, my first choice for this, is a novel translated from the Welsh. It's a new novel. I didn't note the publication date, but like in the last 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. The author is Carol Lewis, who writes in Welsh, and this novel is called Martha, Jack and Shanko, translated from the Welsh by Gwen Davies. It's about 200 pages, and it's about 3 adult siblings living on a farm in Wales where, quote, their lives unfold in the eerie half-presence of their dead parents, unquote. Sounds pretty interesting. I have a hard copy winding its way to me here in Tokyo from Book Depository, and should be here by the end of the week. So stoked to read my first Welsh novel translated from the Welsh novel. But my runner-up, my second choice, is really sounds amazing too. This one's translated from the Burmese. Smile as They Bow by Nu Yi, translated by Alfred Birnbaum and TTI. And it's about a rural festival, the Tang Byon Festival, which is coming soon, and thousands of villagers from all over Burma descend on this one tiny hamlet near Mandalay to pay respect to the spirits known as Nats, which are central to the Burmese spiritual traditions. And at the heart of these festivities is Daisy Bond, a gay transvestite spiritual medium in his 50s. And that's only 150 pages, so if I don't get to that one for the readathon, I can't wait to get to it another day. So those are the 4 main prompts for this challenge, but Matthew, Kendra, and Jennifer have come up with 2 bonus prompts plus some bonus points. The first bonus prompt is read a book that was translated posthumously, and this one was the most difficult one, and I loved how difficult it was, but I'm just dying to see what anybody else found. It's really hard to research this one. Fabulous, but I have a fantastic headache from this one. This is what I've come up with. This was on my shelf. Territory of Light by Yuko Tsushima. And it was published in a Japanese literary journal in the late 1970s and translated in 2017. Yuko Tsushima died in 2016, so just in time. It's, you know, doing the research, like, okay, is she dead? Was she dead then? But yes, she was dead then. Yuko Tsushima, I have one other book of hers on my shelf, unread. She was the novelist Osamu Dazai's daughter. And this is a novella about a single mother raising her 2-year-old daughter in Tokyo. That sounds bland. It may well be bland. I did a page 112 tag with this book, and I loved its page 112. And this story within the Japanese literary tradition is by no means bland. It's revolutionary, so I'm really looking forward to reading it. But I couldn't find the only backup one is impossible because of its length, and this is a Chinese novel by Han Bang-king, The Sing-Song Girls of Shanghai, and it's published in Chinese in 1892, the translation was published in 2005, but it's 550 pages. I have it as available to me as an ebook on Scribd, but there's no possible way that I'm going to read it during even the elongated readathon that I have planned. But the story of its translation is fascinating. It's about the courtesans and people from all walks of life in Shanghai in the late 19th century. But it was originally written in the Wu Chinese, which apparently even in the late 19th century was a language that most Chinese people didn't read or speak. If I've understood the research that I've done correctly. I am by no means an expert, but that was my understanding. But the Chinese novelist Eileen Chang translated it from Wu Chinese into Mandarin, and then it became more popular. And Eileen Chang is a Chinese novelist that I have yet to read, and she has been fabulously trumpeted on BookTube by Matthew Sharapa and Claire of Claire Reads Books, and I can't wait to finally get to her myself. But she did the Mandarin translation, and then kind of secretly she then did the translation into English, which was discovered in her house after she died, and then later published with further tweaking by another translator, Eva Hung. So that's fascinating. Anybody want to buddy read that? That's a significant undertaking. But that's the only other one that I could find that was definitively a case where the translation was published posthumously. Of course, the other one that, you know, Anne Frank Diaries, the Nemirovsky, it's a novel, right? Suite Française. She died at Auschwitz, and it was translated posthumously. So there are a few others, but not many that I could find. I did find today, I did one more deep dive at like 3 in the morning, but I stopped making notes because all of those books were only available hard copy from Book Depository, and there's no way I could get them in time. But I found some Mexican, like early 20th century female Mexican novelists that were translated posthumously, and they sounded interesting. But I stopped making notes at that point because time was running out. Whew! The second of the bonus prompts is read a text written by a Nobel laureate, and I'm doing Herta Müller, a Romanian-German novelist who has won the Nobel, and this is her novel The Fox Was Ever the Hunter, translated by Philip Bohm. Müller won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 2009. And this book, originally published in German, I'm not sure, I don't know whether it was originally published in German or Romanian, but the original publication was 2009 and the translation 2016. I was planning to do her more well-known one, The Hunger Angel, but it was almost 100 pages longer, and I found this hard copy remaindered in Saskatoon last week, so this is the one that I will be doing, and I'm so stoked. It is about a young school teacher in the dying days of the Ceausescu regime in Romania. That sounds fascinating. The Readathon organizers are also giving bonus points for texts that were also translated by women translators, and almost all of mine have been. The Zinran, the Carol Lewis, the Natom, the Sandel, the Tsushima, and several others. So I should get multiple bonus points. So those are all the prompts. I've talked about what I'm going to add for days 8, 9, and 10, but I'm also had decided long before I decided to extend my readathon to add a 7th book. So let me close by showing you that, and that is The End of Days by Jenny Erpenbeck. This will be a buddy read with Ange of Beyond the Pages. I've had this on my shelf forever, translated from the German by Susan Bornowski, published in 2014, and this is a novel that has been compared to Kate Atkinson's Life After Life. I was sold immediately upon reading that, and I hear from several people on BookTube that this is just wonderful, so I can't wait to do it. But it's also 300 pages, 240 pages. I don't have very many books that are short, so I'm giving myself the extra 3 days, and I am so stoked. So don't forget to give me a naming scheme for the extra 3 days I'm tacking on at the beginning of this readathon. I will be doing daily vlogs, all things being equal, just like I did for the BookTubeathon, and I can't wait to dive in on Wednesday. And I hope my jet lag is almost gone by then. Thanks for watching.